Episode 5 of The Horror of Dolores Roach starts in the theater's backstage area. Dolores is present to meet up with Ruthie, a personal detective. The usher inquires about what the position entails. Ruthie is to track down Dominic, who is Dolores' ex-boyfriend. Once Ruthie learns that the man is an illicit drug dealer along with the fact that Dolores had a hand in his drug firm, she begins to have second thoughts. Ruthie hears Dolores pleading as she claims that the man had selfishly set her up, which ended up costing her 16 years in prison. Ruthie expresses sympathy but suggests that she seek therapy rather than revenge. Dolores ultimately convinces her to reconsider. Ruthie requests 2 weeks to track down the person in question. Dolores notices Jeremiah following her as she makes her way back home. He offers to drive her to the shop. On the way, they talk about her potential next steps. Thereafter, he inquires about Luis, whose eatery has unexpectedly experienced a surge in popularity. He's frustrated that Luis has stopped answering his calls because he is choosing another butcher in his place. We understand that Jeremiah is beginning to have doubts. The new flavored empanadas at Empanada Loca are in high demand. It appears as though Luis didn't waste any time in putting Marcy on his menu. Ruthie thinks Dominic passed away. She claims he tragically passed away in a fire when he was in the Dominican Republic more than 12 years ago. The woman shows images of his remains as well as the crime scene to Dolores. Dolores is furious as she wanted to murder him with her magic hands. Jonah has been hanging posters for his dad, Gideon Pullman, who has gone missing inside the eatery. Dolores is informed by him that his dad's most recent credit card purchase was made in the vicinity of the eatery. Ruthie overhears and provides her expertise as a private detective. Dolores gets concerned as she realizes Ruthie's aptitude for finding people. To locate Luis, she rushes down into the basement. Following that, Dolores makes her first appearance in Luis' room. It resembles a kid's room. She then discovers Gideon's disturbing remains. Gideon's dismembered body as well as Marcy's skeletal remains are both scattered about in this terrifying scene. She understands that she is to blame for all of this madness. Following this, out of nowhere, Luis shows up, startling her. Although Luis promises to destroy the proof, he does not want the remains to be dumped in a body of water. If necessary, he promises that he will assume full responsibility for the offenses. She appreciates his loyalty and has no desire to return to prison. She then discusses the situation involving Ruthie and Jonah. Jonah hangs more of the missing posters outdoors while Joy converses with Ruthie. Luis chooses to take things into his own hands at this point. In order to reach out to Jonah, he makes use of Gideon's cell phone. According to the message, he is going to be away for several weeks due to his gambling debt. While working with Dolores to hang up banners, Jonah reads the text. He decides to stop the search right away after falling for the lies. Luis is happy to learn that his strategy is successful. He guarantees to keep Dolores safe. The two proceed to make out and indulge in sex inside the cellar. They cuddle in bed together. Luis, who recruited a private eye, has deduced Dolores' strategies for locating Dominic. But he insists that Dominic continues to be alive. The illicit drug dealer, in Luis' opinion, staged his own demise. Burning the crime scene photos, she is glad of the possibility. The third floor is where somebody Dominic knows resides, Sophia Morris, a mutual friend with whom Dolores prepares to speak. In The Horror of Dolores Roach Episode 6, to speak with Sophia, Nellie's grandma, about Dominic, Dolores goes upstairs to flat 3B. The first meeting doesn't go well, and the overly chatty grandmother pushes Dolores away. The eatery seems to be doing excellently downstairs. Jonah suggests to Luis that they could franchise the business after personally witnessing the recent achievement. Jonah's snooping offends Luis, who then clashes with the landlord's kid. Hector, a drug dealer, walks in and asks Magical Hands Dolores for a therapeutic massage. The massage therapist is not particularly excited to be hanging around with one of Marcy's employees. She nevertheless takes him downstairs into the basement for more information after he suggests that Marcy has vanished. He discusses Marcy's disappearance and begins to draw connections between the event and Gideon's disappearance as well. Dolores fights the temptation to kill the drug dealer despite being concerned that Hector has connected all the pieces and will accuse her next. He says he feels dizzy but still enjoys the therapeutic massage. Hector develops bumps on his cheeks and a swollen throat. He had brought up having a nut allergy. Dolores put Hector in this potentially fatal situation by using coconut oil on him by accident. Dolores tries to save the man's life but becomes fearful. Hector gestures at his clothing with a jabbing motion. Dolores scrambles through his belongings and discovers his EpiPen. Hector signals for the masseuse to stop, but she stabs him through the chest without noticing. Hector appears to die as a consequence of this. Dolores kills a customer and goes back on top. Despite the fact that Luis is along with the healthcare inspector, she proceeds to inform him. This unexpected visit was a mystery to everyone at the eatery, but Luis doesn't seem fazed by it. Dolores informs Luis of the corpse stored in the basement, dropping hints about Hector's passing. Ruthie shows up with fresh information regarding Gideon's whereabouts. After discovering his cell phone, she broke into it. After getting inside, she discovered a tracking app for Gideon's pacemaker, which directed her directly to Empanada Loca. Dolores is aware that Ruthie has come to understand Gideon's location and that she won't be able to ignore this information. Dolores yells at her and tells Ruthie to leave. Ruthie wishes to continue her investigation but feels uneasy once she discovers Hector's body on the table. Dolores catches Ruthie as she attempts to get away. The healthcare inspector listens to the sounds coming downstairs. Following that, Luis diverts her attention by giving her a guided tour through the cooking area. Ruthie and Dolores are on equal footing. Ruthie consents to take a step away, claiming she hadn't noticed anything. Dolores forces the remains of Hector onto her because she doesn't really believe her. After Hector awakens, Dolores kills him with a knife. She then kills Ruthie by smothering her to death to bring her murderous spree to a quick end. The health inspector requests to examine the storage area in the basement. The woman is led downstairs by Luis. They are both able to hear the beeping of the pacemaker device. Luis makes up the story that the smoke alarm is broken and guarantees to replace it. Evidently believing Luis' fabrications, the health inspector heads out. Dolores is told by Luis that their business was given an A- grade. However, there is no time for celebration because they are stuck with 2 corpses. Luis starts the process of drawing blood from the bodies of those killed. At last, Dolores takes out Gideon's pacemaker. She feels enraged that Luis could leave such a clear bit of evidence lying around. Dolores hurries outside to get some air. Jeremiah's pickup truck flap mirror hits her accidentally outdoors. He admits that he is fully aware of her murderous rampage. Interestingly, he is not interested to report Dolores to the authorities. He in fact wants her assistance. Jeremiah would like some people to be murdered. Dolores becomes aware that she destroyed Jeremiah. She turns him down and walks away. Dolores warns Luis that all of the murders must stop when they are back at the eatery. She presently officially qualifies as a serial killer because she killed Hector as well as Ruthie. They have Jeremiah covered. They are on the verge of being apprehended. She hints that they move somewhere new and start over. Dolores would like Luis to collect the money and leave after agreeing to Jonah's buyout. In episode 7 of The Horror of Dolores Roach, Dolores has come to the conclusion that they must leave because their actions are beginning to catch up to them, which means it is simply a matter of days before they're caught. They intend to hand over the company to Jonah. For the possible franchising agreement, the couple meets with Jonah. He gives them $15,000 in payment after cashing out. He explains that unless he gets his parents' consent, he can't use his trust money. Dolores inquires as to whether Jonah can use the revenue from the rental properties to pay the expenses. Although Jonah says they must hold off till the beginning of the month, this strategy is far more likely to succeed. To commemorate the occasion, Luis and Dolores share a joint. They talk about their prospects to adopt new identities and begin afresh. Their fake identifications have been successfully sorted out by Luis. Felicia Rocha is listed on Dolores' new driver's license, which is given to her. Luis has chosen to be known as Hector Pector. Nellie shouts from the second floor while they argue because Sophia has fallen. According to Sophia, when she was taking a bath, blood fell on her, causing her to drop and break her leg. Turns out, the drainage system is clogged by the blood Luis has been draining from the dead bodies. Similar issues are happening to Caleb inside his flat. He makes a threat to contact the police and Luis promises to make it right. The group aids Sophia in leaving the apartment. Following that, she is driven quickly to a hospital. She is given medication and Dolores and Sophia bond in the emergency room. Dolores questions her regarding Dominic's whereabouts. She has no clue where he is, however, an Australian woman always brings her a gift for Christmas and leaves it at her flat. Dolores thinks that the Australian woman might be Professor Georgina, an old friend. She confronts her about these allegations at the nearby university. Georgina acknowledges that it has been 20 years since she last saw Dominic. During an argument between the longtime friends, she accuses Dolores of being mean. Dolores is deeply offended by this. Luis is clearing the drainage system out inside his basement. Despite realizing the air conditioning has stopped working, he begins to fix the clogging problem. Before they go away, they're left with an entire week for getting rid of every ounce of leftover meat. When he fixes the ventilation and air conditioning, Luis makes the decision to store all of the proof in the refrigerator upstairs. Dolores talks about her encounter with Georgina and questions Luis about her nature. Dolores acknowledges that she no longer wishes to be tormented by Dominic. Dolores asserts she is done with him. The duo then begins kissing. While removing clothing, Dolores spots an area of scarring close to Luis' groin. Luis discusses the scars in detail. His dad's girlfriend mistreated him. When his dad learned, the relationship was over. Luis attempted to harm himself by putting burning oil on his penis. As the couple retires to bed, Dolores consoles Luis. Jonah is making a special meal for Nellie when Dolores arrives home. Although the refrigerator is locked, she is terrified that Jonah will find murdered corpses inside. To smoke some weed, she steps outside. When she comes back, Dolores discovers Jonah inside the refrigerator. His dad's body has been discovered. Jonah's neck is instantly snapped by Dolores without any hesitation. Then she adds, by Felicia, making it clear that the couple's plans to flee are presently over. In episode 8 of The Horror of Dolores Roach, Luis and Dolores fight in the cooking area shortly after Jonah is killed. She holds Luis accountable for the accident. Once Nellie, Jonah's partner, arrives at the workplace, they drag Jonah's corpse out from the refrigerator. They keep his body in the refrigerator and tell lies regarding where he is. Nellie is uncertain but gives in to the lie that Luis and Dolores are telling. Luis is questioned by the police. He's still arrogant, and Dolores is forced to essentially pull him out of there. In the storage area, both of them are fighting. Dolores wishes to run away. They've got $15,000 in addition to the money Dolores has earned from her massage space. To steer clear of any prison time, she suggests that they escape with whatever resources they have. Despite the growing problems, Luis is unwilling to get out of there. He is concerned that if he leaves this place, his legacy could be destroyed. In order to organize a last-ditch scheme to save them, Luis requests more time. In preparation for her permanent leaving, Dolores gives him 1 hour to leave. Dolores conceals her money wads under the massage tabletop. Shortly after, Joy gets into the basement while she is finishing up her packing, begging for a therapeutic massage. Joy is argumentative and doesn't agree to go away. Dolores challenges Joy but ultimately concedes. As she continues to massage Joy, she gives in to her own urges and snaps Joy's neck out of rage. Ruthie's peers inquire regarding the whereabouts of their colleague above. Meanwhile, Dolores deals with Luis down in the basement. He is attempting to move Joy's body. While getting the job done, he inquires whether Joy discovered everything. Dolores accepts that she simply snapped. Dolores is advised to put her faith in Luis after he assures her that he truly has a strategy. She is now even more enraged by this. During her lowest point, she abuses Luis and claims that he consistently makes things worse. The police sirens are audible throughout their argument. Dolores observes Nellie being taken into custody when she goes to the windowsill. After moving all the proof to Sophia's flat, Luis admits that he submitted an anonymous tip regarding the corpses. Dolores finds it hard to accept that Luis would try to completely ruin Nellie's life whilst also making things worse. Authorities are coming back to begin searching the entirety of the building. Dolores begins to think back on all of her terrible choices and comments on how she might have been content in this place. The massage therapist makes her way to the door. Following that, Jeremiah appears out of nowhere. He speaks to Luis and presents him with all the incriminating information he holds. Luis responds by labeling him insane. He murders Jeremiah in the ensuing conflict. Dolores decides to leave after witnessing the killing. Luis blocks Dolores from leaving even though she manages to get to the kitchen. He begs her to stick around. He receives one final kiss from her before being pushed inside the fryer. In pain, he reclines and unintentionally lights an open flame in the cooking area. He then passes away on the kitchen surface after collapsing. She makes a remark about the way Luis was fried similar to the rest of those killed. While policemen go into the burning structure, Dolores gets away. She leaves the crime scene using Jeremiah's pickup vehicle. We return to the present moment. Dolores has recounted every detail of her life. We learn that she ended up running away for the following 4 years while looking for Dominic. Flora thinks that Dolores has been the victim in this case. In contrast, Dolores asserts that she truly is the evil one. She acknowledges she is unable to stop killing. She would gladly turn to harming Flora or anybody else who stood in her path. Dolores then approaches podcaster Caleb during the after-party. He offers to help her locate Dominic because he is afraid of dying himself. She drives to the place Caleb mentioned at the final moment of the series. An unidentified person answers the door and welcomes her. Although the viewers don't see the person, Dolores is obviously acquainted with them. Her hysterical laughter precedes her attack on the person. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and I hope you enjoyed the Horror of Dolores Roach.